Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very, very welcome. It's great to see you all here. I trust you enjoyed my last video on iconic songwriter who just left us recently, Gordon Lightfoot. And through his song, If You Could Read My Mind, we looked at how we do need to talk about our inner worlds, particularly at the start of relationships. So I trust you found that one encouraging. We're going from there to 1969 in Jacksonville, Florida. Brothers Dwayne and Greg, Dwayne on guitar and Greg on keys, thought, well, Hayley, we've got a bit of a thing going down here. Why don't we form a band? And they formed the Allman Brothers Band. Now, these guys are very, very significant in the scheme of things, absolutely. So Dwayne Allman, Greg Allman. At the start, we had Dickie Betts on lead guitar, Barry Oakley on bass, and we had Butch and Jai on drums. Good thing about the Allman Brothers Band, true drummers. So this goes to show to have two drummers playing in time with each other is pretty hard to do. But it also, if you can get it right, as a few other bands, including the Doobie Brothers, have found, it can work really well. And so Butch and Jai on drums, what can we say? Absolutely stunning. What can we tell about these guys? Absolute instrumental in developing and a major influence in Southern rock. And so we talk, but there's also combinations of blues, jazz, country, and one of the great things about these guys is their improvisation skills. We're going to get onto that one in a minute. This kind of sets these guys apart a little bit in the way that they can actually just play their instruments so well. And you know, when everybody's playing their instruments so well, it's a pretty amazing thing. A couple of albums, 1969 and 1970. But there was some then tragedy struck, and both of these were motorcycle accidents. Dwayne Allman, who of course was Greg's brother and pretty much the founder of the Allman Brothers Band, and then Barry Oakley. Both of these guys got killed in motorcycle accidents, and so, wow. Not so much after the band had got started too, by the way, and to sort of get a loss as significant as one of the founding members is pretty huge. But these guys absolutely have pushed on. They've had a pretty amazing career, always paying tribute, by the way, to those two guys. Well, so it was around 1971 that At Fillmore East came out. This is a live album, and this pretty much catapulted the Allman Brothers Band into a international household name. There's nothing like seeing guys in their element playing live to actually really see how compelling these guys absolutely are. Got two drummers, you've got two lead guitars, which is another thing about these two. This band is they like to have two lead guitars going. Two drums, two lead guitars, the bass, the keys, obviously Greg on keyboards, and his incredible vocals as well. You've got a pretty compelling act here. We're almost verging on progressive rock here in lots of ways because of what these guys can actually do. So it's funny, you know, I didn't know a lot about the Allman Brothers Band. I think there was one song I knew about. We'll get onto that one in a second. But there's many bands that you kind of think, oh, I do a video on these guys, and then, oh, I got to find out about them. So, and then you get absolutely carried away with that, how good these guys actually are. And so if we go to 1971 and that At Fillmore East album, we've got a couple of live clips from there. We've got In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Now, this goes for a while, this one, but stay with that because we're seeing absolutely master musicians here. To have a song forgo at the length of time this one actually is, there's not much in the way of words. This is the other thing about the Allman Brothers Band. Sometimes they would just not sing and just play. This is a pretty amazing piece of music, this one. It has all of the elements of a work almost, you know, building up the highs, the lows, the emotion, all the rest of it. And to see these guys in their absolute element is absolutely superb. So we're very fortunate to have a couple of clips from that one. First of all, In Memory of Elizabeth Reed. Then we got Whipping Post. And interestingly, At Fillmore East, as regarded Rolling Stone, number 49 of the top 500 albums of all time. So that's what we're talking here. We're talking like perfection really here, nothing short of that. And so we've also got Whipping Process, all about, hey, you're not taking any notice of me, I'm feeling a little bit bleh at the moment. And so we got 2 songs from that album. Then out in 1973 came the album Brothers and Sisters, and probably this is, I do know a couple of songs of this album. First of all, we got Jessica. This is probably the song I first heard the Allman Brothers do. Again, an instrumental. This particular performance of this song actually won a Grammy Award, so that's pretty significant right there. If you're getting a Grammy Award for not singing anything, you're doing the right thing, and you've got the chops to shred those guitars and hit those drums as you need to do. Another song, and so we've got a live version of that one. We also got a live version of Ramblin Man. Now here we see Dickie Betts going through here as the lead vocalist, lead guitarist. He is absolutely phenomenal at what he does. In fact, he's been regarded again by Rolling Stone as one of the best guitarists of all time. In fact, in a couple of lists, 4 guitarists from the Allman Brothers Band have been put in a very high in the Rolling Stone best guitarists of all time. And so, so good to see Dickie Betts going through his motions here. Now, Ramblin Man. This is probably the song I want to talk about a little bit today. Rambling, when you think about rambling, well, what I think about is freedom, because one of the lines is, I'm doing the best I can, but I'm also a man, I'm enjoying my freedom. And I suppose in this world of starting again, and it's certainly been my experience with people I've spoken to over the last little while, this concept of another relationship is a bit scary, because one of the things that is at risk, because we're kind of sighing relief a little bit here. We think, oh, I've got my own space, I can do my own thing, I can watch whenever I want to watch it, I can go out and do whatever I want to do, and I'm just really enjoying the freedom. And but alongside of that also is, hey, another person in my life would be great. So I don't have an answer to this little issue, and that is, how do we keep that freedom and have the other person at the same time? Because an argument would say that if the other person does come along, well, the freedom kind of diminishes a little bit. But is that loss countered by the fact you've got this person in your life? It's a really interesting thing, this one, because people enjoy this whole freedom thing of not having to worry about that other person quite as much. And so how do we balance these two things? If another person does come along one day, how do I balance this? I suppose the best thing we can do is we talk about Gordon Lightfoot last time, because one of the things I'm sure that would crop up at the start is, hey, my freedom is kind of gone a little bit. And you can't leave thoughts like that one, you can't pretend like it's not a thing, right? Because it is a thing. Because I think one of the things we learn, particularly maybe the second or third time around, is that, hey, we need to say what we want and how we feel about things. And hopefully both sides of the argument, both people in the relationship, what I'm talking about both sides for, both people in the relationship should be strong and wise enough to realise that, hey, these things are important and significant. We've done enough in life here to actually realise that we need to talk about stuff. So how can we bring this feeling of freedom in there somehow? Certainly at the start there, you don't want the freedom. Perhaps you want to actually be with that person as much as you can. But, it doesn't take long for you to realise, hey, I need my freedom as well. I need my space. So I think we need to give grace to each other, and when the next person comes along and say, hey, look, what can we do to balance both of these things? But let's not be too rigid about it. We don't want to be too prescriptive. We want it to be organic and natural and easy. But I suppose if both of you've got this concept of needing your space in there as well, well, it'll all kind of work out. I think if you establish these parameters at the start, we can then operate within those parameters in a way that is organic, as opposed to thinking, well, if I do this, what's going to happen? Let's just add again, last time, Gordon Lightfoot, communication is the key. So I think with Ramblin Man, Ramblin Woman, We do enjoy our freedom, right? We do enjoy the space. So let's try and work out how we can do that. Absolutely. We don't want to be too needy of each other, do we? Need implies that we haven't got it all together ourselves. And we can only love if we love ourselves. Absolutely. So we've got a live clip of Ramblin Man below. Dickie Betts going through the motions. Absolutely. So between 1969 and 2004, that's a very, very long career. 1969, so that was around about the time the Beatles were finishing. And they changed the music forever. And around that 1969-70, a lot of bands started around that time, carrying on the legacy of the Beatles. 12 studio albums, 16 live albums. That tells you something right there. These guys are in their element when they're live, absolutely. 18 compilation albums, as you'd expect for a career this long. 4 video albums, 21 singles. Estimated they've sold around 8 million albums worldwide. So pretty significant in the scheme of things. As I already said, they received the Grammy for a live performance of Jessica. They've also received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by Willie Nelson. So there we go. Willie was able to talk about the fact that these guys wanted to be individual and unique and bring their stamp of music on the world. And they absolutely did that. They actually number 52 out of 100 of the greatest band in the world, Rolling Stone. So that's also very significant right there. And so, you know what, these guys are absolutely legendary in many, many ways, and it's good to be able to give these guys a bit of a tribute today, because they're actually no longer going, but their legacy lives on absolutely. And if any of the Allman guys are watching, I hope that I've been able to do you guys a little bit of justice today for what you have. It's been a pretty amazing career. And so, if you've come back for another one, as this is your first time to Live Reflections of Music, thank you to everyone for coming back or coming here for the first time. It's great to see you all here. You're very, very welcome. As always, I trust these videos have been encouragement to you. And by all means, feel free to put a request in below. If you want me to have a look at someone or a particular song, feel free to chuck it in a comment, and I'll be more than happy to do that for you. Well, that's it for today. Next time we're going to go on to a bunch of guys called The Band. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.